All right, Shalom Akim. I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, for allowing me to do another lesson. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and there's no God beside them. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit. And salutations to the elect when the Most High have given ears to hear. And I've been watching a few things today throughout the week. And this article, along with another, this movie I've seen, proves that what's going to come upon the world, when the average citizen, the American citizen, the average working American citizen finds out, he's going to be pissed. And I'm watching this video, right, with Lisa Haven. It says Argentinian president candidate, his name is Javier Miquel, issues die warning to Americans, don't miss this, right? And I guess I'll play a little bit and we'll go into it. I'll do that. Yeah, let's do that.
One of the poorest nations in the entire Western Hemisphere, and on top of that, their entire currency has been devalued, and there is hyperinflation. And when I say hyperinflation, I mean you're taking brick stacks of money to buy basic necessities. That's how bad the hyperinflation has gotten over in that country. Now, to add a little bit more information on what's going on in that country, there's about 47 million people in that country, and only about 11 million of them work. That is a massive gap when it comes to those who work and those who do not. In other words, the government over there is only relying on the 11 million workers for all of their needs, so to speak, and all of the needs of the people. 11 million support 47 million. And this is always what happens under socialism. And to give you an even greater grasp of what's going on and how bad it is in Argentina, is their currency devalues by 10% each and every single month. That means every single month, people are 10% poor. This is why the nation is one of the poorest nations now in the Western Hemisphere. So a lot of people asked, how did Argentina go from a rich nation to an absolute poor nation and the place that they are today? Well, the presidential candidate, Javier Milei, had a lot to say about that. And in a nutshell, before I dive into it, the bottom line is socialism always offers free things to people. Well, nothing is free. I came across this meme the other day, and I'm going to paraphrase this. Hopefully I get it right, where, a mouse is running up to a piece of cheese. He thinks the cheese is free, but when he gets to that mouse trap, closes in on his head, and the mouse dies. Well, it's the same thing with socialism. They see free cheese and they go after the free cheese and grab it, but they don't realize the mousetrap is about to shut right on them. And this is what happened in Argentina. You have all these people thinking they're getting all these handouts when in reality they're just grabbing it from somebody else. Well, eventually those who are working and paying the massive amount of taxes to the government to support everyone in the country, those who are not working, eventually they're going to get fed up enough. They're going to quit their job and stop and just, hey, we're going to suck off everybody else. And that's what happens all the time in socialism. And we really and honestly are truly there today, especially when we have Democrats that are literally screaming. This is what's happening now.
Right, and let me just butt in there because when you look at what's going on in society today, you have massive unemployment, and you add that with the migrants that's coming into these inner cities. That spells a bad time for the average working American. And things are going to get very expensive for those that work. Things are going to get very expensive. And just look forward to civil unrest. Now, in the beginning of this video, I was speaking about things I was watching this week. I actually mentioned briefly about the movie. It's called The Forever Purge, which it came out in 2021, and it's pretty much Esau telling you what's about to go down. Now in this movie, you have the main character, which is I don't remember the names or whatever, but in a nutshell, this Issacharite family had to link up with his boss, which were Edomites, because America got so bad they had to find a way to get into Mexico to seek refuge. Now in this movie, one of the profound parts, because before shit got bad, the Edomite was treating his Spanish worker like shit. And, when shit hit the fan, and I guess it was a point where, the Issacharite was speaking to him like man to man, like, yo, be honest with me, you don't like me. And then he was saying, like, it's not that I don't like you, it's just that I firmly believe, and mind you, the main character, the Edomite, the white dude, he was saying how his father was saying how, he raised his son to be a honest American. And fast forwarding into the part I'm mentioning about, Salaki from all over the place. I'm just trying to put my thoughts on wax as they come to me. But anyway, they had a candid conversation. It was a part in the movie where they had a candid conversation, and this conversation basically sets the scene throughout the whole movie. And the Edomite was saying to the Issacharite, all right, Esau or Edom represents the so-called white man, so it was a white character and a Mexican character. And the Mexican character was asking the Edomite character, or the Issacharite character was asking the Edomite character. He was like, yo, be honest with me, you don't like me. He was like, it's not that I don't like you, it's that, no, he said, it's not that I think that white people are any better or worse than Mexicans. I just firmly believe that we each should have our own. We each should be, basically he believed in segregation, and that's what the Forever Purge was about. It was about basically hardcore Americans hating the fact that migrants was taking over their country. So when it's all said and done, and you realize that your cost of living is way worse because, well, it's actually been worse. It's actually been going downhill for quite some time now. But when it goes to times like Argentina, where the value of the currency is devaluing 10% every month, because they got to continue to print out stimulus packages, and you got to put out more in taxes to pay for migrants, you're going to be very pissed. And in the end thereof, you're going to start a civil war. And which is why I got this excerpt from George Orwell's 1984, right? And I guess you could say it came to me throughout the course of the day as I was trying to figure out why, this quote was in that movie. Because when you look at the movie 1984, which is really a documentary or foreshadowing of things to come, all right, to where this devil locks everybody down, and it's the rich versus the poor, right? So this is after all the chaos. This is after he restores order back into the world, I would say. Where it says, the middle class want to become rich, and the low class only want equality, right? And that's just basically what Lisa Haven was saying. How you have the migrants, the poor, right, that love a socialist society, all right, because they don't have to work for anything. Everything is free. There was actually a very good example given. I was watching this TikTok, and I think it was an economics class, Yeah, it was an economics class, and the professor gave an example on socialism. He was saying how, which, some people on the, on the comment boards be another debate in itself. Some people were saying that this is communism, but in the story goes, like, you had a certain group of the class, this economic class, that was getting all A's, right? And then they had a certain people that was pretty much just passing or failing. So what the teacher would do from the point of the project on out was that they would curve the grades so that everybody would get a fair share. Everybody would so-called pass, right? And then what happened was, at a certain point in time, the people that were just passing, or the people that were close, basically failing, they felt that their scores would go up because of the people that were failing. Because, mind you, it was an average of those that were passing and those that were failing. So the people that were failing, wouldn't care, And then after a while, the people that were passing, they begin to see their test scores drop. So at a certain point in time, they stopped caring, And I thought that was a pretty good I thought that was a pretty good example. Let me see if I can find it. If I can find it now. Okay, yeah, it's no biggie. But I thought that was a pretty good example of socialism. All right, but as it is written of in the book of Job, that every hand of the wicked shall come upon thee. Going into let me erase some of this shit off my phone. Going into the laborers, when you go into that word wicked, it goes into the word laborers. Let's see. Because you gotta believe that shit is gonna get real out here. Even Yahushua said, the love of many shall wax cold. When you work hard for yours, especially in this society, this selfish society, this unbalanced society, when you work hard for yours, you're very cautious on who you give your money to, how you spend your money. So it's going to be, especially Esau. Esau's God is gold, and it's understandable to an extent. You don't want to you don't want to encourage laziness. All right, but let me grab that precept 1 second. Right? Because so it will be riots in the street, and it will be blood in the street. It will be massive bloodshed in the street. Let's see. The value of the dollar is going to shit. Gas is going to go up soon. All right, because you got also where these other nations are pushing America out of their countries. These other nations that produce, things to keep this country running, like gas, oil, wheat. They're saying the Panama Canal is drying up, which is going to further exacerbate the food crisis. Right? I went into the grocery store. The shit was pretty packed. I was shocked, but scriptures say soon enough, the full storehouses shall be empty, roughly paraphrasing. But this is Job 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him, because you gotta understand, in the fullness of Esau's sufficiency, again going into the movie 1984. that's basically his wet dream. You know, how he pictures things to be. In the fullness of his sufficiency, you have rich and you have poor. All right? In which Esau basically wants everybody to accept poverty. You know, accept him. You know, he wants everybody to accept the lowest, you know, the lowest of the low as far as way of life goes. Only he can live, you know, like a king. That's the tyrant we're dealing with here. That's why this devil has to be taken off the planet of the earth. All right, and he wants you in perpetual slavery. All right. You know, even Yahweh Shem Yahushua, he said after 1,000 years, you know, he's going to give these heathens their lands, you know, so they'd be able to grow and, you know what I'm saying, do their own thing. I mean, of course, they still going to have to pay tribute, but the way this devil talking and the way he's looking at locking everything down, he's going to make you wish you were dead, man. You know? He's looking at putting a C-hip in you, man. All right? To take all, even to put a C-hip even in the poor. You know? He's looking to take everything from you. But, I actually found an article that Lisa Haver was going into, you know, because I kind of just wanted her to get to the point, but, you know, it's not my platform to say to tell her to do that. So, nevertheless, this article, as she was mentioning Javier Milei to Tucker Carlson, socialism is always and everywhere a violent, murderous, and impoverishing phenomenon. Right? So you could look at Argentina to see what's to come here. You see, how about Shem Yahushai, as they say, the saying goes in the word, he's saving the best for last. Right? As America too will sit in the dust. It says the renowned Argentine economist and presidential candidate spoke exclusively with one of the most important hosts in the United States. On Thursday at 1800, the conversation between host Tucker Carlson and the Argentine president candidate Javier Milei was published on X, formerly Twitter. The interview, about 32 minutes long, left great moments with Milei criticizing Pope Francis. Salak, 1 second. It says, endorsing former President Donald Trump and reflecting on socialism when Carlson asked him about the architecture of the city of Buenos Aires, the Argentine capital. 1 second, Akim. I'm about to park up anyway, so just give me a second. So it says between the 14th and 15th minute timestamp of the conversation. All right, let's jump straight to the point. All right, it says you described the buildings on the left as square, plain, and ugly. I guess we could read through Salakia. Between the 14th and 15th minute timestamp of the conversation, Tucker Carlson, asked Milei why the architecture of Buenos Aires had a marked difference between the old and the more modern buildings, pointing out that the former are really beautiful and the latter more tasteless and unsightly. Millet explained that this is because the old buildings which generate fascination were designed and built at the same time of liberal Argentina, when the South American country was admired in the world. While modern buildings were created in the era of socialist Argentina and statist politicians, you describe the buildings on the left as square, plain, and ugly. Why does the left like concrete so much? Your old buildings are made of stone and plaster, but the new socialist buildings are all made of concrete. What is this? Carlston asked Millet. It has to do with the values of the left. The values underlying the ideas of the left are envy, hatred, resentment, unequal treatment before the law, and violence, Millet responded. Then all that socialist altruism ends up generating a contamination of the incentives that generate poverty, continued Millet, who then left a solemn phrase against socialism. This is interesting. Socialism is always and everywhere a violent, murderous, and impoverishing phenomenon. That is the characteristics of socialism. Following Millet's reflection, and it's funny how when you even look at the world today, well, America today, people are begging for Trump over Biden. Because under the Biden regime, people love Democrats, but this is what you get. You get all for one and one for all. Even if you don't agree with it, that's what you signed up for. That's what you want. Therefore, the host asked the leader of the political space, La Libertad Avanza, to give advice to Americans. Never embrace the ideas of socialism. Never be seduced by the siren song of social justice, and not get caught up in that nefarious phrase that says, where a need is born, a right is born, said Millet, who also asked Americans to be ready to give the cultural battle. Right? Now, this is going to happen whether they like it or not, because as it is written in Revelations 13 and 16, he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand on their forehead. Now, when you go into that word cause, it's the word poyeo, meaning to, you can grab it. Revelations 13 and 15. 16, and he causeth all. The word cause, again, as I mentioned, poyeo, to produce, construct, form. So he's going to construct a way of life so dire out here that even if you didn't want to conform to his new way of things, you feel like you won't have no choice. Right? First and foremost, a lot of stores right now is not taking cash. But we understand how the devil works. As in the beginning, it's suggestive, and then in the end thereof, it's kind of like forcing it. Just like how the the juicy juice was. And it says, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right? So in the end thereof, they're going to push that, they're going to make life so very hard, so very terrible for you. Right? So I think that was pretty much it. Hey, watch out for your neighbor. The brother Kalab says, man. You looking at Jake. Meanwhile, you need to look out for your neighbor. They're the ones that's gonna really get shit popping, it seems like. All right? They're the ones that's gonna be pissed off because they have things to lose. They got a 401k. They got a house that they pour their all into. They got kids that they send into college. So all of that on top of, all of that, you fighting for your American dream on top of having to deal with up migrants and inflation because of the migrants, or rapid and hyperinflation because of that, rather, you're gonna lose it. Like Gerald Salente says, if you have nothing to lose, you should lose it. So this is Matthew 24 in verse what's that scripture? The love of many Matthew 24 and 12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Right? It almost reminds me of Second Ezra. I think it's 15 or 16. Let's see. Where are we? Second Ezra chapter 15 verse 14. and 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundations of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting in hell, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the courts of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. All right, because just like in that movie, The Forever Purge, when all this hell breaks out, Esau's going to try to keep the peace or bring back some type of order through what's called martial law. And that's going to go south. All right, locking particular cities down, implementing curfews. All right, attempting to take, the Americans' beloved weapons. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods. So it's going to be, it's really a bad time to try to implement socialism, especially in the time that we're in. All right. When you look at the different crimes and just the different, just the mindset of the average American, every man is out for himself. All right. That was created, especially in the so-called white man hell, and every American that lives here. Get yours, be all you can be. You look down on the poor. Even if you basically scratching the surface. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their house with the sword and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right. Yeah, man. So if that, shalom to the elect.